day. My name is Bill Humber, and I'm the director of the Office of Eco-Seneca Initiatives at Seneca College. We want to welcome you to the third season of our Green Citizen videos. Today I'm in the Bowmanville Valley in the municipality of Clarington, and we're going to be talking about an incredible fish passageway project that was undertaken by volunteers and other persons within the community of Bowmanville and the larger area of Clarington. And I have three members of the team that were responsible for that project, amongst others. And I'm very pleased to have on my left, Suzanne Barnes, on my immediate right, Jack Hampsey, and to our far right, Harold Hammond. And they're going to speak to us about some of the aspects of developing, why this project was envisioned, how it was constructed, and some of the benefits we see accruing as a result of this. So it's kind of my pleasure to kind of turn first to Jack Hampsey on my immediate right. And Jack, if you could kind of set the stage for us, why a fish passageway? What were some of the reasons behind it? What were some of the challenges that fish were finding, and what kinds of fish were there in making their way upstream to spawn?
Okay, so going back close to 100 years, Goodyear put in a dam to get cooling water for their systems and the plant. And at that time, there were no large salmon trying to get upstream. There were some trout. In 1988, I believe, the local community got together and they put in a fish passage, which was sufficient to allow the trout to get upstream, which are smaller fish. They migrate and they come up every year to spawn. What happened shortly thereafter, within the next few years, was we had a large number of salmon, numbers of salmon, different types of salmon, decided that they wanted to spawn here as well. And I'm not real sure about the background of that. Maybe our biologist, Susan, at the end can figure out where they came from and how come. But anyway, what was happening was the existing fish passage, or fish ladder back then, was literally that. It was a bit of a ladder. It was narrow, probably a meter wide. It had an angle, if you can imagine, of something like 14 degrees, and it had a sharp turn in the middle. So the trout were able to negotiate to get up there to spawn, and trout spawn every year. When the salmon, the large salmon, we're talking maybe 30 or 40 pounds have been measured, when they tried to get upstream, they just couldn't simply get through that passage for a couple of reasons. It was too steep, and the size of the fish being that they were too heavy to make it up. It was too high an angle, and also had a right turn in the middle, and there was no resting component for them. So what happened over a period of time, a few years, was that these large salmon, every fall, they would be dying at the base of the dam, and we're talking literally hundreds and thousands of fish that were dying. And you can imagine, if you've got maybe a few hundred dead fish rotting in the sun, the stench was just horrendous. And I can give you an example of a lady who wanted to get her wedding pictures taken down here, and she sent me an email saying, "I'm so ashamed of Bowmanville, rah, rah, rah. We were going to get our pictures taken, our wedding pictures, and we went down there. It was a lovely area, but it stunk." And so I promptly sent her an email replying, we apologize and that we are trying to do something. Anyway, long story short, she's now a volunteer with us. So we've kind of converted an enemy into an ally in that regard. What we finally did was, when I say we, Valleys 2000 is the group that maintains this area. When CLOCA, Central Lake Ontario Conservation Authority, the Ministry of Natural Resources, and the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans all decided they'd had enough, and they wanted to make this a true spawning ground. In other words, let the salmon get up to spawn. We were tasked with looking at, see if we could raise the funding to have this become a reality. At the time we first took it on, I think the basic estimates were in the maybe $200,000 range, if I remember correctly. That mushroom, surprisingly, until I think the last counting was somewhere close to $500,000 that we actually did raise. And that's not just money, that's in-kind donations, that's people in the community giving of their time and their efforts and that sort of thing. So we've gone now from a stink hole, if you will, to an attraction. We have a lookout The new pond, the new fish passage has 4 riffle ponds where the fish can jump and jump and jump again 4 or 5 times before they make it upstream. These are small jumps, and it's quite exciting to actually come down and stand on the viewing platform and watch these fish jump. The good news is they are now able to survive and spawn. They were initially going to die in any case. I'm talking the salmon here. The tragedy was the healthiest and the biggest salmon were not getting to spawn first. Now they're still going to die, but at least they're doing it on nature's terms. They're actually spawning. They're going upstream. There's something like 47 kilometers of spawning streams upstream. They can get up there and spawn, and nature will then take its course, but we will have large fish for the future.
Jack, I understand that before this went in, only perhaps 1% of the fish were actually making it upstream.
Yeah.
What kind of figures do we have now, or what do we anticipate will be the number of fish that will be able to make it?
I'd hate to say all of them, because there's never nothing's ever perfect. But let's put it to you this way, I can't see any reason why they can't make it. If they can make it all the way from the middle of Lake Ontario all the way up here, over some of the rocks and through the jumps they have to make to get to here, this is a fully engineered fish passage. It does have a tricky jump. They're going to have to be healthy enough to make that jump. But I would say 70, 80% maybe would be a good figure. I don't know, probably higher than that even. I really don't see a reason why they can't make the jump.
So that's a 75 to 80-fold increase in, which will of course ultimately benefit the fish in Lake Ontario.
In Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
Last year, I should mention too, last year we have a group of citizens in the community who took it upon themselves to raise the fish while the construction was going on. And they actually raised last year over 10,000, something like 10,500 salmon. They raised by nets and carried them up over the dam. So if that's any indication, we're looking at 10,500 fish at least going over the passage this year.
Amazing. Now, it all sounds pretty basic and pretty straightforward. Harold Hammond, I want you to speak, though, about the challenges from an engineering point of view, a project management situation, a construction process. What were some of the leaps and bounds that you as a human being had to do, perhaps comparable to what the fish were having to do as well?
It's an interesting project. It's an interesting process that we had to go through. First of all, we had to find an engineer that was capable of doing such a feature for migrating fish over a certain level, and how could it be constructed that would be an advantage to the fish and at some kind of a cost that the municipality at that time would accept. We hired a contractor by the name of Grech and Associates in Brampton. This would be approximately 6 years ago. They came down, they looked at the possibility of working around the dam. The dam will always be a question. It's privately owned. And although the town has a lease on the property, whatever happens at the dam has to be compatible with what the Vance or the old Goodyear Dam are going to work with. So taking these things into consideration, Grech came down and thought that he could design a bypass channel that would accommodate the migrating salmon that were pooling below the dam, so that they could take advantage of the possibility of spawning from here to Hampton, which, as Jack has said, is about 47 kilometers of spawning ground. This is excellent spawning ground, and through the ministries have stated that Bowmanville Creek is probably one of the best and most viable creeks in Ontario, bar none. And as we have gone, we have looked at ways of improving it. And they said there is really nothing we could do other than to facilitate the way the salmon would get bypassed, that would go past the dam. Grech took on this job. He took on this job and came back with a a price of $150,000 to make a bypass that would allow the salmon to get upstream. The CLOCA, the M&R, and the municipality asked Valleys if we would take on the responsibility of funding this and try to raise the funds to make this happen. One of the biggest fights that we had to start with in doing this, it would be publicly funded. And when we start talking about that, the first question you have to answer, why should we give a bypass channel to the salmon? What advantage will it be to the municipality? What will it be an advantage to me that gives $100, $1,000, or whatever? And truly, it is of no advantage. We don't have a salmon cannery here. We're not intending to get one. The people say that because of the problems with the water, they don't want to eat the salmon. So our fundraising was really going to be a steep hill to climb. So we decided that we would try to advertise that this is what we're going to do, and through some publicity, talking, and town viewing, we got some interest in it. And then we had a contractor come along and said that he was quite interested in the valley and the potential that this was involved. And he had a construction company, and he said that he would give free all the construction that was necessary to do this job. So we accepted his gift, and when you look at excavation and some of the building and all this, and we had some other major in-kinds like St. Mary's Cement, which were concrete, as you can see, is very much a part of this. We needed armor stone to line this. Finding the armor stone was another one. So we started searching northern part of Ontario and to find out what type of armor stone would be right. Many trips to Bob Cajun and in that area, we finally found the stone that we wanted. We looked at it, and it was going to take 420 tons of armor stone to do this job. The armor stone has to be such that it's hard, and it will stop the eroding of it through the frost and when it freezes. The armor stone that is in Lake Ontario around St. Mary's Cement is very porous, and it will accept moisture. When it freezes, it crumbles. So we had to have some greater density in the stone, and that's the area that is the best stone probably in Ontario. When we decided that we got the right contractor, we talked about price and trucking, and 420 tons is a lot of trucking. They decided that they would give us a break in the pricing, and we accepted their price. And CDR Young in Bob Cajun, they were the people who got the contract. Having the stone and having a contractor ready to do, they brought in a concrete person and so on. We were close to starting, and almost the day before. And if you're looking at the outfall area, which includes the outfall initially and also the lamprey trap, which Department of Oceans and Fisheries say is vital in this particular area, the initial contractor said that he had a concern that the design as Grech had designed it wouldn't work, and he wanted to make changes. He asked us first. We said that the design that Grech and Associates had given us, we had followed it for 5 years. We had gone through many ministries and so on with the name of Grech and their association with them and his understanding that that was the best drawing to proceed with, and so we did. They came back to us the following day and said, if that's the design, we cannot do it. And they said, we will withdraw from the contract. There is a outfall from this where you can say that you could hold them accountable. but in getting the best price and his donation of free work, we waived that. And therefore we declined to have anything for fallback on this contractor. Even though he had come down and did some grubbing, which was clearing the site and preparing it, we did not use him. So at this point, we had clearance in the water to September the 15th from M&R and CLOCA, and everything was ready. And when he said no, our timing, which was probably in the 5-week, 6-week period, we said we are past our authorized time. We'll have to go back and revisit it. So we went back to them again and said, look, we need an extension in our time to be in the water. They granted us this and said that they would give us till the end of November to complete it. We then started to search for another contractor, and somebody was watching over us because we found this outfit, R&M Construction, in Acton, and brought them down, and they bid with another company, and R&M were accepted as the contractor. If you were to ask a novice or anybody else that's involved with this type of construction, they would ask you, how did you ever land R&M Construction? They're probably the top in Ontario, and when it comes to Ministry of Natural Resources of what to do in a situation, they go to R&M for the answer.
Wow. R&M so it really was worth the drive to Acton.
It really was worth the drive to Acton,
Good.
yes. And they came in, and if you wanted to see a precision outfit, not denying the earlier contractor that he made do, but he came to the engineering was his downfall. And when you watched R&M come in and watched how they worked, I don't think there were any more than 4 or 5 men at any one time on site, and every one of those men could handle equipment, a hammer, form cement, rebar, weld. They were just a really working unit. And so we started on October the 8th, and we finished on November the 19th. And the vision is here. One of the things that made it all happen was a thing called in-kind. And in-kind to us is exactly that. There was an outfit here in Bowmanville, Trade Tech, Walter Hillman. He came and looked at what we needed, was in on some of the earlier drawings, and he said, I would like to be part of this. And so he said, what, Walter, would you like to do? And so we were talking about a platform over the water to accommodate viewing. So where would you get a viewing platform? So we found a bridge in Toronto at the Harbor Commission. Walter said, I will buy it. I will truck it, I will refurbish it, and I will put it up for you. So what a wonderful gift that was. And not only that, he said that he would do all of the metal work, the fencing, the grating, and everything you see there in steel is what Walter Hillman and Trade Tech in Bowmanville have really accomplished. When we went back, we were short of money. Our contract then was about $350,000, and not counting the grubbing that had gone on. And we went back and we were short some money. So we went back to the Armour Stone, and he said, what do you need? And I said, well, is there anything else you can give us? He said, I'll give you the stone. So he gave us all the 420 tons of stone. He trucked it down here and gave it as a gift for about $30,000.
Wonderful.
So those types of things brought the whole community together. And although it was a lot of gray hair and a lot of disappointing things like that, we did win in the end.
Yes.
Although it was, I thought my heart had left me when the guy said, no, we can't do this job,
Yeah.
that we were finished. And I said, because of the gifts of Trillium and various funding that had gone on in this, we couldn't really say no. And so all of those horror stories and so on were a thing called experience, and this is what we've got.
I want to talk to you in just a minute about some of the involvement of the various levels of government. But Suzanne, I wanted to turn to you. Harold had mentioned that there's no immediate economic impact in terms of a canning industry. But if you look at the aesthetics, the tourism value, the angling community that's involved here, and the health and welfare of the natural community, the fish in particular, but other things, can you speak to a little bit of the educational benefits that are accruing from this particular project?
To me, it's a wonderful opportunity to showcase what can happen when people work together and come together for some greater purpose. I walk down here all the time. I run into school groups, especially in the spring, because they walk from Waverly or from downtown Bowmanville. Teachers and their classes out exploring and doing their lessons. There's a wonderful opportunity here with the fish ladder to show that we can work together with nature for everybody's benefit. So the fish can continue to swim upstream as they've always done. And to me, that's really important, because a lot of us have grown up with the thought that it has to be one or the other, the environment or development. And actually, my entire career has been showing that we can have responsible use of the environment. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for everyone to come and see how we can do that in a responsible, appropriate manner.
From a biological point of view, why is it important to have a healthy fish community?
People have such a connection to nature and little spots in nature. We can't always get out to a protected area, a park. So being able to come to spaces like this and see nature functioning and healthy and robust is a wonderful opportunity for people just to get grounded and centered and clear their minds from a busy day. Downtown Toronto, downtown Bowmanville, you know, it's all the same, the hustle and bustle, it's a quiet spot. So to see the fish swimming and doing what they do, looking after themselves, to see the birds and the bees and, you know,
Well, other than you know, being able to eat fish, what benefits do fish provide us with?
Oh, they eat all kinds. We'd be overcome with algae and plant life and insects. I'm not an aquatic biologist. I'm a big, I'm a big game kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
And garter snakes. Anyway, but everything is interconnected in our world. So when you remove one piece of it, things sometimes fill in, but you'll also get an imbalance. So you'll get an overgrowth of weeds or an overgrowth of insects or all of the above. We get, like I said, it's an opportunity. The fishermen come, but they aren't just they're not just fishing, they're bringing their families. And it's an opportunity for them to come and explore and relax in a bit of nature close to the city. And it's just, there's so many benefits. And educators are learning that more and more. The time for kids to spend time outside, you know, developing some, I'm trying to think what the word is.
Just that connection to nature is so important.
And seeing that things, you know, yes, I'll fall down on the gravel and I can get back up and keep going and keep playing. You know, it's not screen time. It's, you know, time outside, constructive, building those bones and muscles and brains and all of those things that we all need every day in our lives. So,
just want to kind of conclude with a bit of an overview of the role of various levels of government in this. I know we work with the federal level of the government with regards to the eels and some of those invasives. We work with the provincial government on projects like this with Trillium funding, and maybe you could speak to that. And the municipality under Mayor Adrian Foster, they've been through the staff and the resources of the municipality, they've played a role in this as well. And of course, you mentioned the Central Lake Ontario Conservation Authority, CLOCA, the role that they play. So there's multiple jurisdictions and levels of government that are involved in that. Jack, speak to that briefly, and Harold as well, if you don't mind.
Well, the one thing that you did say was the Trillium organization, and I'd like to tip my hat to them.
You want to just take
I'll
it
just
off and
tip my hat to them. They, you know what, when they gave us the money, let's backtrack a little bit. We wanted to raise some money. We went to Trillium. Their maximum was $150,000. So Al Strike, who is now deceased, God bless him, he was part of this. right from the get-go. We had a bit of a go. He said he wanted to apply for 75. I said, no, apply for 150,000. And we got the 150,000 to make a long story short. So he owed me a coffee, which he did pay. We had a little bet on it.
That was an expensive cup of coffee.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? As soon as Trillium gave us that $150,000, it became real. It became real in everybody's mind, as well as us, the fundraisers, and the people who were doing the fundraising. It became real in the public's mind. It wasn't a matter of whether it's going to get done anymore. It's when is it going to get done, and let's get on board and let's help. It became a reality. Yeah. Once we had that $150,000 in our pocket, it was all, I wouldn't say downhill from there. It was a lot of slug and a lot of heavy slug, but at least we had that in our pocket, and we knew from then that we could get in the water.
Harold, talk about the municipality as well and the role that they played in this.
Well, first of all, we have a memorandum of understanding with the town, which grants us on their behalf to be stewards of the valley, which means whatever happens down here or anything that goes to improve, we have the authority, and they ask us to submit what they think they want to do. The municipality is one thing, and they become, as we say, the owner of the property. And that's in everything we work with. It's a municipal ownership. The Ministry of Natural Resources control the water and what happens in the water, around the water, and looking at the conditions of the migrating fish. And there's a window between June the 15th and September the 15th, which will only allow you to work in and around the water. Cloca is where we stand. Anything that's going to be used on the land itself, tree planting, excavating, moving and showing anything, their biggest concern is floodplain. If you take a yard of earth out or you take a yard of stone out, they want to replace it. That keeps their system equal to how it's accommodate the flooding. The Department of Oceans and Fisheries is anything that comes from Lake Ontario, which is federal jurisdiction, and the lamprey. They want ownership of the lamprey, and we're happy to give it to them. And they set up, and there's a lamprey trap in this particular venture that we have. One of the things that when you're getting an approval, you have to go through 4 levels of government on every drawing change, any minute drawing change to us, and this is where our costs started to go, that when we decided to change anything certain in the area, it had to be approved by DFO, it had to be approved by M&R, had to go, and M&R have a design, they have an engineering, and they have an administrative area. All 3 have to sign off. We lost a year because of trying to get approvals. Then they all of a sudden bought into say this is a good idea, and everybody tried to fall in shape, in place, which we can be thankful for. But we realized, we started off that we were in a conflict with them. And then we went to the idea, well, these guys have a job to do. Let's work with them. Let's be a partner in this. And to that extent, it's worked out well. Yep. And so, but it's a 4-way, it's 4 spoke of a wheel, and the hub is the municipality, and we're one of those spokes. And we're to accommodate and see where this whole benefit, if we're going to do it, is for the people to see. They've never seen salmon that were 40 pounds. And so from a standpoint of watching this, and from a recreation standpoint, the public are in it. From a standpoint of what good are the salmon, what do they do, it's the sports fishermen. The sports fishermen, believe it or not, as Suzanne had said, that when they come, they bring their families. Down at Port Darlington, when they come in, they stay in the hotels, they eat in the restaurants, they bring their families, and there's a brochure which we got from Quebec where they promote Port Darlington and especially Bowmanville Creek. So it's well known, and all we're doing is now is polishing and expanding that opportunity to bring more people in.
Well, we've we've had a wonderful opportunity here to look at an extraordinary project, a project that integrates the environment, that integrates wildlife and biology, that integrates a construction process, an engineering process, a tourism process, an economic development opportunity, the key involvement of multiple private contractors and engineers, public authorities from a variety of different levels of government. It's an extraordinary achievement, and it's one that's going to accrue and provide benefit, not just for the fish, but for us as humans who get a chance to be a part of this over the next, well, we hope over the next century or longer. Suzanne, are there any kind of concluding thoughts you have? I mean, just in the brief time that we've been doing this interview, there's probably been a dozen people that have come down here. This is just a microcosm of what this is all about.
We are all working together day by day and just doing what we can, you know, accepting that others have a responsibility and a need to be participants as well, whether it's government or private citizens or industry. And it just speaks to me what we can do when we work together and not see as being victims or one's got to be right, one's got to be wrong, but of working together cooperatively.
Wonderful.
And that's so important, I think.
Suzanne, Jack, Harold, and on behalf of myself, Bill Humber, thank you very much, and come on down to the Bowmanville Valley in the municipality of Clarington and share in this wonderful experience.